All right, YouTube, 106 Falconer, back with another freaking exciting video, hopefully a quick one. This is a deck that I built for my mother, so I wanted to share some of my mistakes with you if you're looking to build a deck so that you don't do the same things I did. Number one, it's about 10 foot across, and this portion comes out 7 feet. And it goes back in 4 feet, blah, blah, blah. Number one, I laid this all out, by myself. I would recommend trying to have at least 2 people to lay it out. I mean, if you're just doing a little, like a 4x8 or some crap like that, then you can do it by yourself. When you get in these more whatever, the more, the better. As long as you got somebody you can work with, lay it out. The next recommendation I would have, I did 8-inch, poured 8-inch posts for this, or pillars, whatever you want to call them. I would definitely do 10-inch because you got a little more wiggle room. As you can see here, I'm on, but would have been better to have them better. So that's number 2. I would do a 10-inch, dig 10-inch holes. And like I say, 2 people. If you can have 2 people, because when you start running that auger, they walk a little bit. So you got to, anyways, whatever. So do 10-inch there. Have 2 people lay it out if you're doing a something that's not just a rectangle or square. Third thing is your decking. All right, this Trex decking. It's 5.5 inches wide, and when you use the hidden fasteners, that adds another 1/4 inch. So plan your deck 5 3/4 inch spacing per board. That way you don't wind up with a little strip like this, which is no big deal. It's under the railings, whatever. When I did this deck, I laid it out and just started building. I didn't write anything down. I just built as I went. When it comes to putting the decking down, I started with the first piece of decking I put down was this one right here, because I did not want to have I didn't want to start from here, go down and get to the point where I had to trim the long piece there. And I didn't want to start from the backside and run into the same problem, so I started with that piece and just worked to and fro from that piece. The other thing, I would, on your first board you lay down, I would snap a line just to make sure, because this decking, it can get out of shape there. So you want to make sure you're laying down properly. The deck itself is 2x8 framing. It's double framed with 2x8s. I double framed because, number one, I like the look of the reveal. Then I double framed the ledger so I could get this post away from the house, so that, because this siding next year is going to have to get replaced, put some shake on there or something. The original deck that was up here screwed right to the cedar siding prior to the house being sided with vinyl. When it comes to if you want to wrap your posts on the bottom like I done here, I would recommend, once you get your 4x4s where you want them, mark where your framing is going to be, and then buy Home Depot. They have 100-inch sticks of this 4x4 sleeves for $25. Mark where your frame is going to go. Take about 1 inch down, cut it, put it on there, then put your framing up. Otherwise, you gotta cut these in the corners and then spread them around the 4x4s, which works out good. Then the next thing would be the fascia board here. You can buy at Home Depot. They have it's 11 1/4 by 8 foot sticks. They're $50 a piece. Took four sticks of that to go around here, so $200. Where I could have just bought a 4x8 sheet of the same stuff for $100 and ripped, the four pieces I need out of that. That would have saved $100. This is from a 4x8 sheet that I did for the stringers. It's got the same pattern on it. So this wound up taking basically 2 4x8 sheets would do everything here. So that would save you $100 if you do the 4x8 sheets. Now the other thing is, everything here I hauled in my car. All right, the entire deck minus the decking, because Home Depot didn't have the decking, so I had to get that from another supplier. It was about 30 miles away. So, and they only charge $20 for delivery. So because I don't want to go down the highway with a 16-foot stick of Trex, sticking out my car. So the decking was delivered. Everything else came in that Jetta there, even 12-foot 2x12s. So, you can, if you only have a car, you can do it. So, because Home Depot, they'll rip stuff down for you, which is what I did. I figured out what I needed, just had them rip it down, fit it in my car, and go. And they don't charge for that anymore, at least where I live. Now, when it comes to doing the fascia, like I say, it's 2x8 framing. So I put like 3 12-inch chunks of 2x4 up underneath, screwed them in with 6-inch bolts. Let's see if we can see it. Yeah, well, you can see there. Just so I'd have something to secure the few inches of fascia, because that's only 1/2 inch. So just so it'd be nice and solid. What I did with the fascia is I started in this end, put an 8-foot piece up. I clamped it up there, marked the end, then I cut it. I went about a 1/16 over the line, and then once I got that cut, I screwed it up with I had some scrap PVC. Let's see, where's it at? Let me find it. Maybe I threw it out. Well, anyways, I cut strips of this PVC about 1.5 inches wide, and then I used smaller screws, and I ran a strip here, put 2 screws in there, the same spot where I was going to use the permanent screws with the caps in there. They were the screws I put up there to hold it up there were narrower. So I made sure everything was tight. Did this side, then I cut this side. Did the same process. First, just clamp it up, mark it, this, that. Then I screw it in there with them. I use them blocks so that the face wouldn't get deformed. And then I did this side here. Make sure that my corners were all going to be the way I wanted them. Then I started on this one, pulled the screws out, the clamps off, used adhesive on the back there, put it up, reclamped it, screwed that strip back up there, and then I just started attaching it, and then I just worked my way around, did the same thing all the way around to there. Now that inside corner down there is a butt joint from the fascia going this way. So then once I got them 3 pieces done, then I did these 2 pieces, and then once that was done, the fascia was done, and it turned out pretty good. Now what I did is on the joints, I used white vinyl adhesive caulk. Shit. Where the hell is all my crap? Oh. Okay. Here's one of the strips I talked about that I put up there and screw in there to hold that up. And this is the vinyl adhesive caulk. I put that into on the 45s on the corners. So when I assembled everything, I'd have that squeeze out and it would fill up any voids. Because the lumber you get now, it really sucks. So some of the framing lumber, like 2x8s, some of them were 7.5, at one end, 7.25 at the other end. Had like quarter-inch variations in the width and up to an 1/8 variation in the thickness. So I don't know if they're buying like seconds, whatever. Anyways, so I did that all the way around. Turned out good. Let's see. Then the stair railings. All right, these things are a freaking nightmare. I had Junior Third. He came over and helped me do the stair railings. These things, the 2 railings took us 4 hours. I tried to do one by myself, and I just about went postal. So I had to call it a day and wait for Junior to come over and help me. We got down. It took us about 4 hours. What we did, these are the 39-inch pre-cut post sleeves all the way around here with 36-inch railing. So when it comes time to do your stair treads or your stair run, you want to keep this railing the same height as this. You'll see a lot of people, they'll run them all the way up here just to make them fit, and that looks like crap. So what we did is we put the we got the bottom rail, held it up, marked our angles that we needed and the width, and then we took from our marks, and then we figured out where our stiles would be centered. So then we just adjusted the lines down, and then cut the angles, and then we just take the top rail, put that side by side to the bottom rail, line up the holes, and then cut the top rail. Then put the bottom rail in with the caps on. We used a drop of the decking as a spacer here. Then when you get to the top here, also I double framed this whole thing because I liked the reveal out here. I thought it looked good. So what that does, though, when you go to put your railings up, you are that much further from your first tread going down. So what we did is we used a piece of a drop for a spacer there. Then at the top we used a 1/4-inch spacer here, so we could have it so it wasn't touching the deck, but it was as close to level with the bottom level rail. You can still see we're up, but from a distance you don't notice it. Not like if you had the top rail up. That is really noticeable. So we got that set, pre-drilled a couple holes, tacked. We tacked the bottom rail up. Now the top rail has to go basically to the bottom of your cap, all the way up on the post. That's just because that's the way it works out. So we tacked the bottom in, then we put the top up, we tacked that in. Then we measured in between each, where each of your stiles goes, and every one of these has to get cut down. This is the stock length, so if you ran it in there, you can see where you're at. That's why you see so many people having their railings all the way to the top. Now these cut really easy just with a jigsaw and a metal blade. But you measure each one, write it on a piece of paper. Then take the top rail off, leave the bottom rail in. As you cut them, you just set them in. Boom, 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 boom. And when you get them all cut, then you bring the top rail back over and you fit them in, and then you do your final installation. And it works out good. Now, you probably can't tell from this side to this side is an inch difference in the height of the railing. Kind of turns into a trapezoid or whatever you call that. So, but you can't tell when you look at it from a distance. You cannot tell, and it turns out it's perfect railing height. When you go to use the stairs, it just everything feels right. So that's how we did that. When it comes to the stairs, stairs are a pain in the ass. I made these. I made the rise as short as possible because my mother, elderly, so something for her to easily navigate. And I got to say, they're very comfortable. It turned out to be 6 9/16 inches for the run I had to do. But what I did is, prior to putting the fascia up, I laid out the stringers. I wanted to make sure everything was set up so that, when I put them in, there'd be no problem. I didn't take into consideration the extra ½ inch because that PVC is ½ inch thick. So what happened is we have a 1 inch overhang right here all the way across. But since that butted up the way it did, when this tread goes on, if you were to run the next tread, if you were to put the kicker on and then put the tread up like how I wanted to do it, you'd have an 1.5 inch overhang on there. So what I had to do is put the tread on first, and then the fascia for the stringers, which I had already cut out, everything was going to fit. Then I had to notch out for the tread so that fascia would go on there, which I just made a little jig out of another drop piece of that, put it on, so it basically just I could clamp it on like that if the stringer's cut out, and then take my router and it cut out a perfect indent for the treads. Now, if it would have, if I would have taken that in consideration, I wouldn't have had to do that. I could have put the fascia on, I could have put the kickers on, got the 45s in there, and then put the treads on, and been done with it. But since that's the way it happened, that's how I did it. So it turned out really good. Then the other thing is with the fascia for the stringers, they're 1 3/4 inches longer than the actual stringers. Stringers are 2x12s. When you cut them out, they get really skinny. So I had an 1 3/4 inches so that I'd have the same beefiness as on the fascia for the deck, which is no big deal. You cut that out, you're good. But when I measured, I should have measured from the bottom of the tread to the bottom of the deck fascia, and then over and then cut that up. But what I did, wasn't thinking, I measured from the bottom of the tread to the bottom of the stringer, cut that out. So then I had this big empty void here, which I was going to cut out a new fascia piece for that. But I put a fill piece in here, and again, you can't, it's really not noticeable. So that worked out. So that's something to bear in mind when you're doing this. Make sure when you lay your stringers out, take into consideration if you're going to put fascia on there, and so that you avoid that situation. The other thing I did here on the stairs is I double frayed the front so I'd have the same reveal here as up there. But then I didn't take into consideration the width of the tread, so you can see we're not centered. So I should have made that a little less so it could be centered on the tread. But, you know, that's really neither here nor there. I mean, it doesn't look bad. As far as cutting out the fascia for the stringers, you can do like I did with my Milwaukee saw, my compound sliding. I cut the kicker angles at 45 each one, so you can put this against the fence and then just run the 45 down through there, and it makes a nice clean cut. Then what I did was the tread side, the top part, I did that with a jigsaw, but that left clumps of like melted plastic, which then I had to get a chisel out and scrape them down and sand them down. If I was to do this again, I'd just put a straight edge up there, and I'd use a skinny straight bit on my router and cut them out, zip, 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 and then you'll have a nice clean edge, nothing to worry about. I used a 1/2 inch right here to do the cutout around for the stair treads, and that gave the perfect radius right there for that. Let's see. What else? This stuff, when you're cutting it, if you're cutting it on a table saw, it creates really, really super fine, almost like baby powder plastic dust. So I'd recommend probably wearing a mask if you do that. Then it comes to the stair treads. What I would do is, if you do stair treads like this, these are all biscuited. The bottom one, I biscuited it, and I pocket hole screwed it, but the pocket hole screws did not work because the plastic started deforming. But it held enough for the purpose, because I totally assembled that one. And of course, prior to the sleeves being on and the railings being on, I assembled this one and marked out where the 4x4s came up through, cut that out. And then the whole unit, I just slid over. And then I started the treads going up from there. But what I would recommend doing is making your treads separately. Biscuit them. I definitely would biscuit them. And then use like Gorilla Glue, jig them up, freaking clamp them up. Let everything get where it needs to be. Then install them, because these ones I'd put the back on, then the two sides, then I'd slide the front in, and then I'd try screwing it down, and they'd start walking, as you can see here and there and there. I mean, when these were just on a table, everything was tight, looked good. So I got some dark gray caulk coming. I'm going to caulk them. I may redo these treads next year. Anyways, but the biggest point here is not to use these freaking Trex screws, these decking screws that they sell you, because when you're screwing into the edge, whatever, into the face, these things. Now, I pre-drilled before I used the screws. I tried 1/8 inch bit. I tried 7/32, this, that. I tried pre-drilling deep, just pre-drilling just through the Trex. Tried drilling at an angle, and some of them would sink far enough to put plugs in, even though the plugs don't. This is the gray plugs you get. They don't look anything like, this is pebble gray. So some of them, like this one, just wouldn't sink. I mean, that one's pretty much flush. Some of them sank enough to where you can put plugs in, but I'm not going to, because I got some dark gray caulk coming. I'm just going to use that. Some of them are still proud of the tread, like this one and this one under here. Some of them sank, but not far enough to put a plug in. Some sank far enough to put a plug in. A real pain in the ass. So what I would do is take a step bit, like what you use for a pocket hole screw, like the Craig jig, 3/8 bit with your 1/8 inch, like 1/2 inch tip on there. Get a collar, and I'd pre-drill them. This is solid decking. There's no like the regular decking has some freaking cutouts in there. This is totally solid decking. So you can go down in there, 3/8 of an inch. So I'd pre-drill with a 3/8 bit, and then I would use screws like this. These are Spax multi-material wafer head construction screws. These are 1.25 inch. I do like 1.5 inch, but that head will go down into a 3/8 inch hole, and then you just get a 3/8 inch plug cutter, and then cut your plugs and fill the hole, and that will alleviate that problem. Because once these things go in and get stripped, you can't get them out. I mean, it's and I got them all over the place. I got one here that never sank all the way, can't get that out. Got this one over here that's basically stripped out right where it's at, can't get that out. So I gotta figure out how to rectify that situation, because you don't notice it. It's a freaking deck, an expensive deck, but you don't notice it. Let's see. And then when you're buying your railings and crap, I got an 8-foot run over here. Even though this is like under 7 feet between here, I had to buy an 8-foot run here. So that's an 8-footer. This piece here and this one here are out of a 6-foot level section. This piece is the drop from the 8-foot section. So I had to get 2 6-foot sections. So I grabbed that one and grabbed the other one. Then I got back and started cutting, and I realized the 1 6-foot section I got that was in the level section was actually for the stairs. So you can see the holes are oblong. But I had already cut it. So I was like, so make sure you double check your material before you start cutting it. But again, that's not really noticeable. But like I say, this stuff is so freaking expensive. Let's see. Really, the stairs and the stair railings are the biggest pain in the ass. I did this job by myself, except for Junior Third helping me. No, he did come over and help me mix up concrete when we poured the whatever you call them things, pylons or pillars, or. So he helped me do that, and then he came over and helped me do the railings. Everything else, I did it by myself. Like I say, I recommend maybe 2 people on a job like this. And like I say, you can get it all in your car. So, but that's it. Let's see. I forgot. I'm going to splice it in the video. With the solid decking, cutting slots in there for the hidden fasteners, you can buy a dedicated slot cutter. Amazon sells them and stuff for $50 for a slot cutting bit, just made for cutting the slot. Or you can, on Amazon, you can get this $24 kit that it's a slot cutting kit. You get 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, 3/8, and 1/2 inch, and then it comes with this bearing tree. And I used you can see the one all gooped up. That's a bearing that was originally on the 1/8 inch bit, and it, to me, cut a little too deep. So I switched to the third bearing down, which got me right there, and that worked out perfect for the hidden fasteners. Just took my little router, and set it up on the bottom of one of the grooved boards, and just routed the solid, and it worked out great. So Can't think of anything else. So, well, if you got any questions, ask. Maybe I'll answer. Maybe I won't. All right. See ya, bitches.